Marianela, thank you so much for talking to us. Why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, first, thank you for having me here in this unique opportunity. I feel really honored to be part of your project, and I hope that my experience, my story, be a contribution, to understanding of each other in this world. My name is Marianela Lyons. Um, I am Panamanian. I was born in Panama. I came to the United States, specifically to Buffalo, New York, in 1993. I could say today that I had been living most probably more time here than in my own country. Um, when I came, my older daughter already came with me too because she was born in Panama, and then later I have two more daughters who were also part of the family, and they were born here in Buffalo, New York.
Great, thank you so much. I'd like to talk a little bit with you about your daughters because I know you and I know your daughters. And one thing that I have discovered is that a lot of people who have children here, that especially as the children start school, they tend to lose the home language. And I know that your daughters have not, that you have three bilingual daughters, completely bilingual in Spanish and English. So, can you talk a little bit about how you helped your daughters to continue to speak Spanish and not lose that home language?
I think that one of the way that help in this teaching and learning of the language with my daughter, because I also learned from them and through them, was to put some joy to the learning. I would say that most probably with my first daughter, probably I was a little bit more rigid, but as I go through the years now with my other daughter, little by little, I think that I become more relaxed with this. And today I will say that is one of the best way when you wanted to pass something like a language like that, not to your children, um, so they can feel that this is not a job, this is not a work, this is not a duty, but it's something that they can enjoy. And that was one of my goals too. And not to push them about you must have to do this and in this way, because I think that in some way will take away the charm of this adventure. When they perceive that, know that they are learning because they also want it, I think it's easier. Of course, every child is different. You have all this plan with your children, and you say, okay, this is the way that I'm gonna teach them, and this is the way that I'm gonna work with them. But suddenly, one of the child offer you a different challenge, and I had that with some of my daughter. No, sometimes, for example, with Gabriela, my first daughter. No, it was really some way kind of smooth. No, and she, I don't know, maybe it was the fact that she was the first daughter. Uh, we were working hand in hand now with whatever we had on the table. With Anita was a different way to learn too, but also she was engaged into that. And I think that in her mind also she have another priority as a child too. And I learned that what I did was to try to modify, to change a little bit the way that I was teaching to her. So it was a little bit different approach that Gabriela, but definitely having already her sister, even if they didn't speak in Spanish between them, it was helpful, for Anita. And the third one, my third daughter, Teresa, when she came to, it was a different approach too, and I have to be very creative with them. And through the years, I think that they had learned that it was worth it to do it. And I think that today they really appreciated being able to be bilingual in several of the cases, trilingual. I don't know, it will be a word for lingual, more than three languages.
Multilingual, at least.
Multilingual.
Right.
What had actually happened now with Ana and Ana Belén and Gabriela. But still, I think that when you learn a language, the benefit is not only about language. The benefit go beyond that is the understanding of a world where you live. I think that also is being more empathetic. And even if you reach a certain point in your life that you kind of walk away from many things that you learn with that, then you kind of come back to that because it was in some way kind of the base of what you learn and the way that you were developed as a person here. And I can see that now in my daughters.
You've made a very good point. I was actually going to ask you about the benefits. So you've made a very good point about the benefits, and I certainly see them. Did your daughters always see the benefits of being bilingual? You know, it's one thing as an adult for us to recognize, and I think I have known people who grew up in homes where there was a home language other than English, and maybe they didn't recognize those benefits when they were younger. So I think when you're talking about the making sure that they enjoyed it is an important component to especially children. Do you think your children always recognize the benefits of being bilingual, or how do you think they felt about
I think that in the case of Gabriela, she was kind of very
precocious, yeah,
because I think that she realized very early in her life the benefit of that. It seems to me like she really was enjoying already, the fact that she knew that she could speak to me in Spanish and to her father in English, and going back and forth. I perceived that like for her was some kind of adventure. So I think that Gabriela was pretty aware of that since she was very little. With Anita, I think that even her too. I mean, not being the first daughter, I think that she kind of realized immediately because we were sharing our life with I don't know their classmates, friends, family. And they were already exposed to know how good it was to know another language because then they could talk to all of them. And I remember, for example, when my parents came here, Anna was, she was, I think, 4. And I think that she was completely aware, that it was really nice that she was able to speak in Spanish to my parents and speak to the rest of the people in English, and she could go back and forth. I don't think that she was, I would say, completely aware because as a child you still perceive that, I would say that in a different way to adults, but at least she didn't feel like, I cannot speak with my grandma or my grandpa. I think that was the way that they interpreted that. I couldn't speak with my grandma or my grandpa because I don't know the language. I don't think that for her it was ever an issue because she knew she could do it. Also with Teresa, Teresa, as soon as she started talking, she knew that she could speak to one side of the family in Spanish, the other side in English, and not to talk about it when, for example, we travel, and they knew, that they were going to Argentina, they were going to Panama most of the time. They know that they were not going to have any problem to speak with them. In the case of Teresa, it came little by little, but as she was gaining more and more confidence in that, I think that she had been flourished, flourish, I think that would be the word, in the language. I think that the constant motivation at home about learning a language was, how can I say, a good habit because then I don't think that they really feel that, oh my goodness, that was a job, that we have to do it. And particularly the case with Gabriela and with Ana Belén, when they had to write a lot of composition when they were little, for me, probably I will say that certain point, of course, no, in the mind of a child, no, this any day, for example, they wanted to go to play, and they said, "Oh, I'm here, working in composition or something like that." But I try to also to navigate it, no, to the point that they don't feel like that is a work. Now it will be interesting to interview them to perceive how they really remember, know that feeling. Uh, but at the end, I think that it seems to me like for them, it was something worth it to do it.
Right.
You know, again, it was not just because today they can achieve more things regarding profession, regarding even earning money, no, through translation and interpretation. But I think that they are very happy that they can communicate it with other people, and they have been allowed to learn other languages as a result of being bilingual too. So I think that I will say that today they must be really content about that. And but definitely, I think that one advice that I can give it to parents is that never push, because when you push, when you demand that something has to be done, I think that it becomes a chore and not a joy. And the person probably will achieve that, no? What the parents will ask to do it, but it will always remain in the back of their mind like, yes, I have no choice. I have to do it. And today I'm okay, but it's not like I really wanted to be there. However, in my daughters, I have seen that languages is something that they still are engaged, you know, that they are willing to learn different language, different word. And so I think that this is very rewarded in that regard.
As you were talking, I was thinking that I think that in addition to the language, you're giving them a pride in the language. Like you said, it's not, it's important for it not to be a chore, but I think it is important for children to have a pride, to be proud of that home culture and language. And culture is also part of learning a language too. So, I'm sure that as they were engaging with you in the language, they also were engaging with the cultural aspects of your background too.
I think that this is an important component of passing a language, to pass also the understanding to your children about where they come from, their culture. And something that I tried to work with them was the fact that they could get this part from my side, but also be aware that they have the other side. That I know they were surrounded by that, no, the culture where their father belonged. But I wanted them to know that in order for them to achieve, the knowledge, the understanding, the fact that they like this part of the culture, they don't have to push away or put away the other side, that it was a richness, from both culture, and they can bring both together. So that was one of my main goal. No, I didn't want them to feel like, okay, no, you are gonna be just Latina or just Panamanian, or you're gonna be just Spanish, or Spanish is gonna be above English. No, I never wanted them to feel in that way. To me also was very important the sense of identity. So my work also was kind of in that direction. So by understanding the language, by understanding from where they come from, they could feel more confident about who they were. Still, no, a human being can go through many situations where they exactly don't know sometimes, like, so where am I? No, where am I from? But I think that in their case, they already had the tools, to, even if they didn't exactly know, if they were having some kind of doubted about it, they know how to explore that and find out, who were they or who are they. in this moment.
That's a very, very, very good point. That basically, especially if you start that at a very young age, you're giving them tools that they can use throughout their entire lives, really, but throughout their childhood, into adolescence, and then into adulthood. And I definitely have seen that pride, that your daughters have. You talked a little bit about travel too, and I don't know. Do you think that has helped? You kind of mentioned that as one of the aspects that you think has helped them to recognize how valuable it is to speak another language. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the traveling that your family's done.
Well, yes, we are a family that we love traveling. As a journalist, before marrying, I travel, mainly in the region, and in my country, I started traveling more. Of course, now when we came here, we travel even more. For us, was a priority, to get to know the world, to get to know the differences in culture, in environment, in experience. And sometimes things that you cannot learn in the classroom through grammar, for example, you will have all that broad world out there when you travel. We see the richness in that. Now, when I say travel, I do not mean just traveling abroad, in this case, the United States, but traveling here in the United States. We really have a lot of joy through the experience that we have here and there, to the many places that we went. And I think that looking back to that, I think that my children really appreciate that we did that, that we took them to know places, to explore situations, to explore places. And it's part of that treasure they have it today. So I think that it definitely was a good addition, to this process of learning. Again, the teaching or the passing of the language to the children was in some way a mission, but without signing anything or saying like, oh, this is what we are gonna do. We just did it, and it was just part of us. It was like a daily habit. At home, our home was a constantly lab where we explore and play with the language, from jokes to stories to experience to something that just happened that day. So we came out with this story, and it has been a lot of fun. This process of learning, and well, all of our children in this moment. I know Teresa, she's ready to when she will start classes. All of us had been or had choose a career that has to do either with art or humanities. Well, art and humanity are hand in hand. And I think that is part of that because, well, they were surrounded by that since they were little.
Yeah. I really love that you started talking about how important it is to enjoy and feel the joy of a language, and then it's kind of the traveling, and it's really broadened into just, I think, basically a mindset of what language and culture can give you the world. Your world here in Buffalo, and in the country, and in the rest of the world too. I think you've really done a very good job of explaining just what bilingualism gives you and has given your daughters.
Yeah, well, we try to bring the word to our children, and I know that I probably don't have. I am probably not too aware of that, but our word, for example, at home was in some way kind of like Latino, but in the United States, but also blended with this other, Anglo culture, or in this case, the other part of the family culture. But I think that it was different in some way. It was different to many home, to many family house, because everything was just kind of surrounded without being overwhelming, without being kind of oh in your face. No, that was completely different. But well, I remember when my kids were little, I used to sing for them the song that I had learned as a child, and I almost had forgot about that. But I remember that I was talking to them, and suddenly I will bring out rhymes in Spanish, and that was also a fun way to learn the language. Poems and all kind of language too that we could use it, and that was like our everyday in at home. And I always will remember when they start going to school, and of course they had been speaking all day English, and they wanted to come home, and they start talking to me in English. I say, well, if you wanted to eat today, you better tell me that in Spanish, and they did, and I think that was a good thing, a good habit to uh, to do it with them, because I think that this is the part where normally there is kind of a disconnection, when the kids start school, and the parents a lot of times don't know how to deal with that. And I will say that just continue having fun without pressure, just through anything that you can grab. Um, and I remember that it was not just with Spanish, but we went, we had been several times in Quebec camping, and one day Gabriela and Anna, they wanted ice cream. So their father told them, well, if you say that in French, you can get ice cream. And they did.
Crème glacée.
So we find any opportunity, just to encourage them. But again, it might sound like, oh my goodness, those parents were all the time on top of the kids, with the Spanish and, doing this and that. But it didn't feel like that, because it was just something that they internalized to the point that they didn't realize that they were just doing things in Spanish with me, of course, no. Today they know that everything in Spanish will be with me, everything in English will be with their father. They are completely comfortable with that. So I different, for example, to me when I came here and I didn't speak almost any English. I remember that when I start speaking in English, there was some time that I feel my lips tired, because of course now you have a way to pronounce things in Spanish and way to pronounce it in English. I had never heard something like that from any of my daughter. Like, oh, I'm tired to speak Spanish. I don't want to speak Spanish. And but I do remember that sometime, yes, when they, for example, were through some emotion, being anger or something that they just wanted to say immediately. Sometimes there was moment, mainly with Ana Belén and Teresa, they wanted to say this in English. And then I went back with them and I said, okay, what are you saying? Okay, this wall, da 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 da, esta pared, da 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 da. So I try to still work with them in that now. And I think that they recognize the importance to, even when you were in such a hurry, to deliver the message, you have to come down and think in Spanish. I think that they knew the benefit, and of course, not today, more than ever, they know the benefit that even in your own language. I mean, you wanted to deliver a message, you don't have to go, stepping and top of the other word not to deliver the message. So you have to take time and calmly deliver the message, like this in Spanish too. So. And remember, also that I used to tell them, like, when I wake them up in the morning, And sometimes they try to tell me something in English, and I say, in español, you know? One of my idea was that, I am not an expert in languages, but I love to explore what happens in human being when something like the language, is um, is as an experience, for them. I say, well, even if you are waking up, I wanted you to remember to say that en español, buenos días. No, instead to say good morning, no, buenos días. So again, I don't know, I am not an expert, but I have to believe that the most that you work with that, the most that was gonna be internalized in you. When I was teaching, for example, I remember I used to tell my student, no, I wanted you to write this with your hand. I wanted you to write that word because in my experience, and I can say that because, well, I had to learn a language as a grown-up already person. The hand has some connection with the brain when you write something, and especially if it's a handwriting. To me, it's kind of like something therapeutic, something artistic, and you will remember how the L to say plato, for example, go all the way up there and come down to write the next letter that is A, and then the T, and then the O. So I think that, and today actually, I do believe that science had made that connection, that there is a connection between the writing and the brain. So I asked my student, okay, I wanted you to write this several times, for example, and I did that with my kids too.
Yeah. You mentioned a habit, and it is true that part of learning is to get in the habit, and particularly I think that's really important in languages. The habit and muscles play such an important part, and when you throw in joy and culture and travel, how could they not love being bilingual, trilingual, multilingual?
Well, I think that's the way that you can be persistent. And again, when you heard people saying persistent, it doesn't have to be a chore. Persistent in this case could be, we don't want to know anything about reading in this moment. We're tired to read, so we can hear music. We can watch a cartoon, or I remember when they were growing up, all these cartoon children program they like, we were looking normally for the Spanish version of that, and we could switch. Well, you're talking about the time where where we use VHAs, and trying to look for that, and then I remember I paid a lot of money for Mary Poppins in Spanish. Well, we get Mary Poppins in Spanish.
Pero yo no encuentra palabras para describir su emoción, ¿verdad?
No, nada de eso, por favor. Hay una palabra muy buena que lo describe. ¿No es cierto, Bert?
Anda, dísela.
De acuerdo.
And so we were always doing kind of like that, and of course, trying to reach out to people who spoke also the language. We also were surrounded by some people as they were growing up, and I in particular remember a colleague of Jim, because she was a Spanish teacher too, but she was also so in love with the Spanish language that she was a good contribution, to my daughters in that case, because she was also celebrating, that, and yet. Sadly, she died not too long after, but she was definitely, and I always will remember her or her excitement and enthusiasm for the language and for the culture too.
Yeah. Right. Well, thank you so much, Marianela, for talking about your experiences with your delightful bilingual daughters.
Yeah, one thing that I try to achieve with them is that the most that you learn, the humble that you try to be, because I think that that's the best way to sell something that you wanted other people also to to achieve. You know, never to think that because you know this language, you know 2 languages, 3 languages, you are better than the others. I think that we every day learn from everybody else, regardless of if the person speak the language or not. With this, I would like to say that the fact that some people feel like, well, I would prefer not to speak, not to learn any other language doesn't make them less, because we can always learn from that person, regardless if they love language or they just are content with just speaking one language. But if someone will ask me, no, if it's a good idea to learn language, I will say yes. Yes, definitely. And today, again, scientists have been saying that it's very important and key the role that learning languages play in our brain. So I think it's something that, why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Dorothy. Yeah.
Supercalifragilisticoespialidoso, aunque suene extravagante, raro y espantoso, si lo dice con soltura sonará armonioso. Supercalifragilisticoespialidoso.
De chico yo me acostumbré a tartamudear. Mi padre mi nariz torció para enseñarme a hablar. Mas cierto día yo escuché cuando era ya mayor la frase con más letras, la palabra más atroz. Oh, supercalifragilisticoespialidoso. Aunque suene extravagante, raro y espantoso, si lo dice con soltura sonará armonioso. Supercalifragilisticoespialidoso.